Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Is higher inflation around the corner because of Hurricane Katrina? Even though wholesale gasoline prices fell below $2 a gallon today, for the first time since the storm slammed into the Gulf Coast, prices at the pump have not come down nearly as fast. Now that's driving costs up for many American businesses, and if they raise prices, that could drive up inflation. Erica Miller reports.
It's no secret that gasoline prices have soared as a result of Hurricane Katrina. But don't be surprised if your grocery bill also goes up due to supply disruptions and higher transportation costs.
Many companies are being pressured by high energy prices and are tempted to pass along these price increases. And the economy is getting to the point where it's strong enough where executives are going to find that they can pass these cost increases on.
The prices for coffee, bananas, chicken, and oysters have already risen as a result of the hurricane. And experts say corn and grain could be next. Katrina walloped the Louisiana seaports and closed off parts of the Mississippi River. That leaves many farmers with no easy access to global markets, with less than a month before the start of the corn harvest. It may also cost you more to fix up your home or buy a new one as a result of Katrina. Lumber prices have also been rising in anticipation of a massive rebuilding effort in the Gulf Coast states. But it's too early for Katrina's impact to be seen in inflation data. Take, for example, today's report on prices of imported goods. They rose 1.3% in August due to higher energy costs. Economists say it will be at least another month before Katrina's impact will be seen in inflation data. But it's clear inflation is becoming more of an economic threat.
The big threat to economic growth is the direct cost of energy. It's really the fact that consumers are spending more and more money heating their houses, filling up their gas tanks. That's really where most of the loss is going. The additional problems you have in terms of higher inflation in the goods sector because of the higher transport costs is a much smaller problem, but probably one that's going to increase.
Some economists think a rising inflation threat will give the Fed even more reason to raise rates at the September 20th meeting. But others think the central bank will pause at that meeting to better assess Katrina's impact. Erica Miller, Nightly Business Report, New York.
The head of the Federal Emergency Management Agency has been relieved of direct command of Hurricane Katrina relief efforts in the Gulf region. Michael Brown was recalled to Washington, D.C. today for what Homeland Security officials said was the need to prepare for other storms or disasters that may come along. Brown has been under fire because of the administration's slow response to the storm's damage. Questions have also been raised about whether he padded his resume to beef up his emergency management background. Taking Brown's place, Coast Guard Vice Admiral Thad Allen.
Well, the clouds of Katrina may have a silver lining for the port of Houston. Traffic there has ramped up in recent days as shippers look for ways to get their goods in and out of the country. As we continue our ongoing series, Recovering from Katrina, Washington Bureau Chief Darren Gersh looks at the port and the business boom it's bringing to Houston.
The cargo ship Indotrans was supposed to dock in the port of New Orleans, and New Orleans native Dave Marisi might have been one of the workers unloading it there had it not been for Katrina. Now Marisi and the Indotrans are working out of the port of Houston.
My attitude is I have a place to work right now, a place to stay, a place to keep on living right now. In New Orleans, it'll probably be a rough road right now, so I'm gonna wait till things are up and running good before I make a decision to go back home.
That's a key challenge in reopening the port of New Orleans. Its workforce is scattered here and across the southeast. In the meantime, shippers are bringing order to the chaos, offloading cargo originally bound for New Orleans in ports like Tampa and Houston. This ship was supposed to stop in New Orleans. Instead, it diverted here to Houston, and it's now filling up with 27,000 tons of grain, bound for Veracruz, Mexico. But millions of tons of grain usually flows down the Mississippi to the port of New Orleans, and it will be expensive to reroute.
This port, Galveston, Corpus, Beaumont all have grain elevators, and as we're about to approach the end of the harvest season here, there's going to be some decisions that need to be made on how they get that across the country and out into the foreign marketplace.
The supply chain disruptions stretch around the world. Coffee from Vietnam and South America is being held up. Houston does a big business importing bags of coffee, but for 4 or 5 generations, New Orleans has specialized in bulk coffee, and warehouses here say they can only do so much.
So a lot of the coffee that's been displaced that's coming in is actually bulk coffee. So unfortunately, we haven't been able to lend a huge hand on the bulk side.
In the long run, shipping traffic may be permanently rerouted, though economist Bill Gilmer says ports like Houston will have a hard time competing with the Mississippi River.
If you're concerned about infrastructure in the New Orleans area, either because of the levees or its location that close to the Gulf, maybe you just move upstream.
That's one reason New Orleans natives, like longshoreman Armand Rodriguez, are eager to get their port up and running. He says the Houston Union local is treating him well, but he has 15 years experience operating cranes back in New Orleans.
I love being a longshoreman. I love doing my job. I just have a little bit more seniority there, and I figured that's where my future is.
But if the work does not return home, Rodriguez says he may have to start over in Houston as the low man on the totem pole. Darren Gersh, Nightly Business Report, Houston.
Stocks moved steadily higher this morning, paced by Texas Instruments' upbeat forecast we told you about yesterday, and by McDonald's, which reported a solid gain in August sales. By the noon hour, the Dow was up 85 points. NASDAQ rose 11. Stocks held their gains amid growing speculation the Fed would pause in its interest rate hikes, and an easing in oil prices was also a plus. So for the day, the Dow Industrial Average closed up 82.63 points at 10,678.56. In this four-day trading week, the Dow fell once and rose three times at a net gain of 231.19 points. The NASDAQ Composite up 9.5 today to 2175.51. It too fell once and rose three times this week at an overall gain of 34.44 points. Standard & Poor's 500 gained 9.81 to 1241.48 today. In the bond market, the 10-year note rose 6/32 to 101 and 1/32, lowering the yield to 4.12%.
An interesting development from the Federal Reserve tonight. It said its first meeting next year will be trimmed to one day, January 31st, rather than a previously planned two-day session starting on the 31st and concluding on February 1st. Now, the reason? To avoid spanning the terms of two chairmen. It's the first clear indication from the Fed that Chairman Alan Greenspan will retire when his term ends at the end of January. There had been speculation he would stay on longer. The Fed also said Greenspan will attend that January 31st meeting. Outgoing Fed officials usually skip their last policy-setting session.
Also in Washington, lawmakers are considering ways to cut red tape and quickly get more help to the Gulf region in the wake of Katrina. Obviously, that wasn't on Congress' agenda when it recessed for the summer, but as Stephanie Dew reports, the storm and its aftermath are redefining legislative priorities.
Hurricane Katrina is now the #1 priority for Congress. In the past week, lawmakers approved $62 billion in aid, held hearings on surging gas prices, and moved to ease student loan payments and welfare work rules for people devastated by the hurricane.
We will continue to focus on legislation that answers that immediate response and relief, moving other business aside. Thousands of people need our help, and the three states need to recover and rebuild.
President Bush will head back to the Gulf region this weekend, and Katrina overshadowed the president's schedule today, including a commemoration for September 11th emergency workers who lost their lives.
In these difficult days, we have again seen the great strength and character and resolve of America, and we will continue to work to help the people who are struggling.
Analysts say Katrina will set back the president's agenda. Already, a $35 billion deficit reduction package has been delayed in Congress. The president's tax reform panel now says it will be at least October until its report is finished, and Social Security reform, which was already on shaky ground, now has almost no chance of passing.
The rest of the year is going to be filled with Supreme Court nominees filling those two vacancies, dealing with post-Katrina issues, whether that be appropriations or revamping FEMA, et cetera, and with the appropriation process, and that's probably it.
Analysts say second-tier issues like asbestos liability reform, creating a new regulator for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and drug reimportation will get neglected. There may be efforts to tack on unrelated items like pension reform to any new Katrina relief bill, but analysts say it's unclear if that strategy will work, and they expect many issues to slide to the back burner. Stephanie Dew, Nightly Business Report, Washington.
The American business community has lost a respected leader. The former chairman of Hewlett-Packard, Louis Platt, died today. Platt spent 33 years at HP, starting as an engineer, ending as chairman and CEO. He also served as a director for aerospace giant Boeing. Today, HP noted the loss of its former leader, saying, quote, "The way he treated people and how he ran the company set an exceptionally high standard of personal decency." It looks like Merck's painkiller drug, Vioxx, might soon be back on the market, but apparently not in the United States. The company says it's in talks with regulators around the world to bring the arthritis drug back to the market, but no decisions have been made. Merck also said today it does not plan to enter into any kind of global settlement of the thousands of Vioxx-related lawsuits it faces. Instead, it will defend the cases one at a time, beginning Monday in a courtroom in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And Paul, Merck also believes it has strong grounds to win an appeal in the Vioxx case that it recently lost in Texas.
Well, Merck stock closed up a bit today, Susie, gaining 12 cents at $29.31 a share. Now let's take a look at the rest of our stocks in the news tonight. The most active New York exchange issue on 26.2 million shares, Albertsons, the big grocery chain, up $1.81. Reportedly, several investment groups, including Kohlberg Kravis Roberts, Apollo Advisors, and Bain Capital, are interested in acquiring Albertsons. Time Warner up 18 cents. ExxonMobil gained $1.90. Goldman Sachs today upgraded the oil and gas sector from neutral to overweight. The whole group quite strong. EMC a 23-cent rise. Pfizer down 18 cents, fifth in big board volume. Motorola was up 22 cents. Texas Instruments ended with a 1 cent loss. It traded as high as $34.50 this morning. Yesterday, as we reported, the company gave an upbeat outlook for its third quarter revenue and earnings. Taiwan Semiconductor rose 13 cents. Hewlett-Packard a 4-cent loss. 10th in volume was General Electric with a 13-cent gain. McDonald's rose 77 cents. Its August same-store sales rose 3.2%. Overall sales were up 3.4%. Another Dow stock, Boeing, up 81 cents. The company may avoid prosecution by reaching a $500 million settlement with the Department of Justice. Meritage Homes, up $5.82 after JMP Securities upgraded it from outperform to strong buy. JMP did the same thing with Pulte Homes, whose stock rose $1.88. BioVale, a gain of $4.31. The company got FDA final approval for its tramadol painkiller. And CS First Boston Brokerage upgraded it from underperformed to neutral with a $23 a share target. It's just about there. Alberto Culver up $2.56. Bear Stearns upgraded it from pure perform to outperform with a $54 a share target. Devon Energy up $1.32. Citigroup upgraded it from hold to a buy. And Shaw Group gained $1.47. The construction and engineering firm received a $100 million FEMA contract to provide support services in Katrina's aftermath. And then look at this high-priced issue, not so high-priced anymore. White Mountains Insurance Group plunging $43.50, traded as low as $6.22 today. The company estimates total net losses from Katrina on its insurance and reinsurance operations will be anywhere from $150 to $300 million on a pre-tax basis. And then Build-A-Bear Workshop up $1.37. Standard & Poor's repeated a buy after the company reaffirmed its 2005 earnings estimate of $1.24 to $1.30 per share. NASDAQ's most active, Intel, down 84 cents. Yesterday, the company cut its third quarter revenue forecast. Google up $3.70. Apple Computer, widespread acceptance of its new iPod products, up $1.53. Microsoft down 3 cents. Amgen, a gain of $2.22, fifth in dollar volume. Cisco Systems up 21 cents. Qualcomm gained $1.07. Sears Holdings doing well, up nearly $5. eBay was down 31 cents, and Dell, 10th in dollar volume, gained 8 cents. PalmSource up $7.89, a 78% gain. Access Company of Japan will acquire it for $324 million. That works out to $18.50 a share in cash. And Baidu.com up $12.76. Remember, that stock just went public last month on the 5th at 27. Today it was up on renewed takeover speculation. Also, both Schaefer's research letter and the Templeton fund manager Jeff Everett say that they like the stock's near-term prospects. Those are the stocks in the news tonight. Susie?
Paul, online digital camera retailer Ritz Interactive is going public, but with a twist. The Irvine, California company will sell its stock through an auction with the offering price and share allocation determined through what's called an open IPO. The process gives small investors the same chance as institutional ones to buy shares at the same price. Ritz Interactive runs 3 flagship websites, ritzcamera.com, wolfcamera.com, and boatersworld.com. The sites are individually branded but share a common distribution model and technology.
Monday, a new rallying cry in the wake of Katrina. Show us your disaster plan.
Here's a look at what's happening next week. Our Friday Market Monitor guest is Elaine Garzarelli, president of Garzarelli Capital. On the economic calendar, on Monday, the Senate begins confirmation hearings for Supreme Court Chief Justice nominee John Roberts. Tuesday, August producer prices come out, and President Bush meets with Chinese President Hu. Wednesday, retail sales for August. Thursday, August consumer prices, and then some earnings report on the schedule for next week. Campbell's Soup, Best Buy, and Kroger.
My guest market monitor this week is Randall Ely, president of the Edgar Lomax Company, an investment advisory firm based in Springfield, Virginia. Welcome back to Nightly Business Report, Randall. Great to see you.
Yeah, thank you, and it's great to see you.
I think you'll agree that in the wake of the devastation caused by Hurricane Katrina, the U.S. stock market strength has been impressive, don't you think?
It sure has on a short-term basis, but Paul, I think this is a knee-jerk reaction, and people are going to find that the belief that the Federal Reserve will stop raising rates or maybe even think about lowering them is not going to be something that the Fed's going to be thinking.
But why are people buying only on that basis or some other basis?
Well, I think that's the primary reason, because obviously at this point we're all waiting to see what the post-Katrina, so to speak, statistics are going to be. And in the long run, the economic statistics are going to be what the market will respond to over the years.
But you think they'll keep raising in the measured hikes that they've had a quarter point at a time, right?
I think they certainly intend to. It does not mean they will not take a temporary break. You know, obviously there's probably going to be some political sensitivity to what the short-term effect of continued rises may be, but they have to maintain the value of the dollar, or there will be greater economic consequences.
So you feel that the Fed's policy is still rather accommodative?
Yes. Yeah, they are moving toward neutral. They've told us. In fact, Fed Chairman Greenspan just told us a couple of weeks ago during one of his two speeches in Wyoming that stock prices and real estate prices were too high. He didn't use those words, but that was the gist of it.
Well, speaking of high prices, where do you think oil is headed for the short term and then the long term?
Oil prices have risen so dramatically this year, Paul, up 50% or so, that I am not as worried about where they're likely to go as what sort of damage may be done to consumers and to people with them if they are maintained at the levels they are. So already we're seeing people begin to cut back, and the hurricane may have a positive effect there in that people may adjust to what were already higher prices more willingly and more innovatively than they would have otherwise.
Well, at least Katrina will be good for something. Boy, oh boy.
We certainly hope.
Right. You know, on your last visit with us in February of this year, you recommended the purchase of 4 stocks. Let's see how they've done since then. We had Merck, which is literally, well, almost unchanged. It's actually up 0.3%. But
That's
you gave
right,
it
with
to
the
us.
dividend.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, with the dividend, it's pretty high dividend. So with the dividend up about 3%.
Well, that's true, but he originally gave it about a year ago, and it was in the 40s, but you're staying with it, right?
Exactly, and we bought more as it went down. So in the long run, that's the way a value manager picks stocks.
Right. Altria has done well, up nearly 10%. You still with it?
Yes, we certainly are.
And then the other 2 that you gave us, let's have a look at those. Chevron, naturally, that's up 10%. But the real clinker, Eastman Kodak, down 24%. What do we do with that?
Once again, it shows we're not perfect. In Eastman Kodak's case, I'm going to bail out. The fact of life is, at this point, we think the picture is not clear, and by the way, pun intended.
Okay.
And so we don't know what's going to happen to earnings there.
So you're out of it?
Yes, we'll step
We
out.
just have a minute left for any new recommendations that you might have.
Yes, I'm going to give you 3. That's DuPont, ExxonMobil, and McDonald's.
Although we're looking at the DuPont chart here, and it's had quite a ride on the downside. That's why you like it.
Yes, and a very good yield play. You're looking at a 3.2% or so dividend.
Actually
which
better,
is almost twice. Yeah, almost twice that of the S&P.
Okay, and then Exxon you mentioned. Let's have a chart on that.
That's right. Exxon has been a workhorse of profitability. It's been in our portfolios for years, and given what has happened to crude oil prices.
It's almost like Sara Lee. Nobody doesn't like Exxon these days.
That's right.
And we got time for one more, Randall.
Yes, and that's McDonald's. Here we're looking at something like Exxon, a relatively recession-proof stock.
Okay.
So
and you own all of them?
Own every one of them.
Okay. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. You're being with us again. Look forward to your next visit.
Always good to be back.
My guest, Randall Ely of the Edgar Lomax Company.
And recapping today's market action, stocks close out the week on a day of gains. The Dow gains 82 points and the NASDAQ climbs 9.5. To learn more about the stories in tonight's broadcast, go to NBR.com. And finally tonight, it's an everyday item we take for granted, but we're taking a lot of them for granted. This week, the Bic company said it had sold its 100 billionth pen, all disposable ballpoints. Since 1957, Bic has been selling pens at the rate of 57 times a second, using technology that kept the product cheap and well designed. But while Bic pens have been a huge success story, some of its other ideas haven't fared so well. For example, Paul, Bic's ideas for disposable underwear and perfume both flopped.
Well, fortunately, Bic had the right product to write those losses off with.
And I write with it every night. I have one here on the set with me every night. That's Nightly Business Report for Friday, September 9th. I'm Susie Garib. Good night, everyone. Have a great weekend, Paul.
And you too, Susie. I'm Paul Kangas, wishing all of you the best of goodbyes.
Nightly Business Report is made possible by Franklin Templeton Investments, providing a unique perspective through the specialized investment expertise of Franklin Templeton Mutual Series and Fiduciary Trust. Franklin Templeton Investments, gain from our perspective.
Don't let your nest egg get away from you. Objective financial advice can help. A.G. Edwards, for 118 years, fully invested in our clients.
This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you. For more information about investing, you may order the NPR Video Library of Personal Finance by calling 1-800-535-5864. This program is available in either the VHS or DVD formats.
We are PBS.
Funding for local broadcast of Nightly Business Report has been provided by viewers like you and by the following. IMS Capital Management and the IMS family of no-load mutual funds celebrating 17 years of serving Northwest investors. IMS Capital Management.
OPB invites you to the Sisters Folk Festival September 9th to 11th. Hear music featuring a variety of performers